Okay, now you guys hold that thought for a minute. I want to get into something that's going to help us to understand how this all fits into our life. We have to understand as Christians, well, as human beings, how we're made up. Satan knows sometimes a lot more about us than we do, about humanity and about things pertaining to the Spirit, of course, because he's been around for generations upon generations. Since he knows how we're made up, it makes it easy for him to kind of formulate a plan against us. Since we don't really know how we're made up, it's kind of hard to fight a battle, you know. If the enemy knows where our weaknesses are, and we don't know where our weaknesses are, I mean, it's kind of like a losing battle there. So we have to understand who we are and how we're made up. First of all, I'm going to say it like this. I have a lot of scriptures we're going to go through. But we're not the person that we look at in the mirror. Okay, we get up in the morning, we fix our hair, some of us put on makeup, you know, take a shower. The person that we see in the mirror, that's not who we are. Okay, there's another person that dwells within. That's who we really are. Paul said in the scripture, though the outward man perishes, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. There's an outward man, right? And there's an inward man, who we really are. Romans 12 verse 1, and I want you guys really to follow me here. Romans 12 says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, that you present your bodies as a living sacrifice. Anyone ever heard that scripture? Well, we have to ask ourselves in that scripture there, who is the you that's presenting your body? You see that separation there? You present your body. We're not our bodies. It's not saying you present yourself. It's saying you present your body. Who is he talking to? The inward man. You, the inward man, present your outward man holy, acceptable, pleasing to God, right? Let's look at another scripture, Matthew 26:41. Okay, 41. Jesus is saying to Peter, and you guys can study this later, you know, watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. You see the separation there? The spirit, the body. The inward man, the outward man. You present your bodies. There's other scriptures. To be absent from the body is to be present from the Lord, right? Something there has to be absent from the body. So we're not the person that we see in the mirror. This physical body, the thing that picks up piece of paper or makes contact with all that, is not who I am. There's another person that dwells inside the physical body, who's screaming out for nourishment. And we'll get into that. You see, a lot of times what we do is we cater to our physical body more than we cater to who we really are. And how do we do that? Like I said earlier, let's start at 8 o'clock in the morning. How early do you guys get up, students? 6 o'clock maybe? That's low. Who, you guys have 8 o'clock classes?
I have 6:30.
Well, I guess if you live on campus, you gotta get up, man. I won't tell you what time I get up. I'm working on it myself. Yeah, I gotta start getting up early. But let's just start at 8 o'clock. Then we wake up. Some of us, not all of us. We wake up, first thing we do is brush our teeth, right? Brush our teeth, go get some breakfast maybe, if we're not running too late. Take a shower, iron our clothes, adorn the body, put perfume on, make sure our hair looks good, all that. And we'll go out. And then we'll go to college, learn things, you know, which feed into intellectual. We won't go into that. Lunchtime, we'll get something to eat. Some women will go in, you know, check their makeup. I know you guys aren't like that. You know, kind of go in, they used to call it the powder room. They always used to say, I gotta go powder my nose. What's up with that? Does anybody know? I mean, do they still do that today? Is that like a thing? That's old school, right? I was wondering, I guess because the nose is shiny. Is that why they do that? You know, you still know. Has anyone ever heard that?
Yeah.
In old movies, they were like, I'm gonna go powder my nose. Just say you're going, you know. But anyways, okay. The physical body has its needs, right? And the spirit, who is who we are, has its needs, right? Now, sometimes I don't like to say our spirit, because that's who we really are. It's us. When we refer to us, we should be referring to our spirit. If I say you, but just so it won't be confusing, we'll say our spirit here in this class. Our spirit has desires, which are not necessarily the desires of our physical body, right? There's a story of a man who used to fight dogs, pit bull fighter or whatever. And, you know, once a month he would always pit these two dogs once against each other. You guys hear this story because it makes the point clear. I've told it before. He would always pit it, and he would bring his friends over to bet on the dogs, and he himself would bet on the dog. Every time, every dog that he bet on would always win. Every time, without fail. So one of his friends pulled him aside one day and said, "Hey, look, buddy, every dog you bet on wins. The dogs are both the same size. They're both the same age. How do you know which one's going to win?" He said, "Well, I'll tell you what, it's simple. The one that I feed is going to win, and the one that I starve is always going to lose." Now, our spirit, who we really are, we talked about the inward man and the outward man, right? Our spirit desires things of the spirit. Our spirit desires to be connected with God. Things that strengthen us, the spirit man, prayer, fasting, reading the Word, worship, communion with God. Things that strengthen our physical body, of course. In Galatians 5, it names a lot of them. But there's physical food, anything that deals with the lust of the flesh. You know, the body has physical desires. Sex, you know, all this stuff. Now, a lot of times we go through our day feeding the carnal desires without feeding the spiritual desires. Like I mentioned, Galatians 5, it talks about all the fruits of the flesh. These are the things that the flesh desires. Let me see how I'm doing on time. Okay, anything that's carnal or anything that's anti-God, the flesh likes, right? For the spirit, the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit is also against the flesh. Everybody ever heard that scripture? The spirit desires things of God, the flesh desires things not of God, or sin, anything against the word. So when we think about those two dogs, the one I feed the most is always going to win. The one that I don't feed is always going to lose. Now, to bring it to us, to our society today, when we just look at the music that we listen to, or that's pumped into, music is a serious weapon that the enemy uses. The enemy knows how powerful music is, and he uses it sometimes against us. Music is everywhere. When you walk around on campus, you see people with iPods in their ears. You call somebody, their favorite ringtone pops up, Beyonce or whoever it is. Even in the supermarket, music is playing. When we drive, music is playing. Sometimes when we study, we're listening to music. I mean, it's like constantly. I mean, right now, this is probably the only time when we're not. Or when we're in class, there's not some kind of music playing. In the movies, music is in the background. Everywhere, music is everywhere, right? And to go along with the music is what? Some kind of message. And that's where the enemy gets us. When the message is carnal, and in the secular industries, we know that it is. We don't even have to go in this setting into all the rock music and all that, because most of us don't listen to a lot of rock music. Just in the hip-hop, in the R&B, you know how the message is. If we can't be listening to Snoop Dogg's, what is his newest sensual, what's it called? Sensual Seduction. I mean, you listen to the lyrics. This music is feeding into the flesh, right? So we listen to music all day. What are we doing? We're feeding that one dog, right? And we wonder why it's hard to stay safe. Because our spirit is starving and he's skinny as a stick, and our flesh is big and fat. And he's always going to win the fight. You see? Look at the movies out there. I mean, Christians will go out and spend $9 in a hot minute to go see some carnal movie, soft or anything, and not even think about it. But it's hard to sit through an hour of a prayer service. Why?